Okay. All right, Shelley, you'll do the admitting. Hi, everybody. I'm Marilyn London, as most of you know, and a board member, membership chairman of the Friends of the Sterling Road Library. And I want to welcome you all here this evening for another fabulous film with Shelley. And there's just a couple of things from the library, not too much. Two things in particular, in addition to everything else, read your newsletters and contact us if you're not getting them, but we assume that you are. In July, in addition to Shelley having two films, Batya Cohn will be back with us for 2 lectures. Watch your newsletter and join us. We're very excited that she is able to be back with us for twice in July and once in August. The other thing is, make sure that you know that on July the 9th, Sunday, July 9th, Sterling Road Library is 20 years old. We are having a big party on that day. Please join us and take part in several of the activities. Many of them are dedicated to children activities. So if you have neighbors or grandchildren or whatever children, ask them to please come and join as well. And at 3 o'clock on that Sunday, we are having a special tea for the people who have shelves in the library in dedication or memory or honor of somebody. And we hope that anybody in the audience who has a shelf in the library or maybe a recipient of a shelf will join us and tell us about their experience, or just come and enjoy the tea and the food that we will provide. So without further ado, Shelley, we will take us back to Morocco, and we will be in Casablanca. And have you been to Casablanca?
No, only in the movies.
Oh, okay. One in a row that I was there. It was not the part of the city, though, that I saw in this film. But you will take us through all of the food and also the camaraderie, the power of the women. And
yes,
you tell us. So we are very anxious to hear from you, and it's all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see you. It's nice to see some new people coming in, some that are familiar. It's great. I hope you're all in a cool place and ready to get started. So this film is Adam. It is from Morocco. It is recent, from 2020. The director's name, she's also the writer. Her name is Mariam Touzani. Very interesting lady. She is a director, a screenwriter, and also an actress. She's appeared in several films in Morocco. She spent her childhood in Tangier before pursuing a university degree in London. She went to school in London. In 2003, she obtained a master's degree in media communication and journalism. Then she began her career as a journalist with a focus on cinema. She wrote 2 award-winning screenplays prior to Adam, Much Loved, a film in 2015, and a film entitled Razzi, R-A-Z-Z-I, in 2017, in which she played one of the leads. Both of those films were directed by her husband, Nabil Ayouch, who is a popular director in Morocco. Adam is naturally her debut, and what a debut as director! And is her second. It's her second film out of 3 that she's done that have been submitted by Morocco for Best International Film Academy Award. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. The title is steeped in irony. The title of this film is steeped in irony. While the title is a masculine name, this film is more about the hardships women face in a patriarchal society. Although its theme has been played out, and it's a familiar theme in other films, Adam is beautifully portrayed and fabulously shot. The cinematography is wonderful. A story of 2 women who transform each other's lives, as well as a story of birth and rebirth. Although Adam on the surface seems like a simple story, a young pregnant woman seeking shelter in Casablanca who is rejected and then taken in by a woman and her daughter in their apartment that doubles as a small bakery. As the story unfolds, it reveals much about their encounter, who they are, and what they become as a result of their meeting. It takes place mostly behind closed doors, as we notice, occasionally opening up to the outside world. And I love how it's framed, how we see that world through the counter of the shop. When we first meet Samia, she goes from a salon that rejects her, then from house to house, seeking work and shelter. But her evident pregnancy, hidden from our view at first, stands in her way. At first rejected by Abla, whose daughter Warda, and this girl is absolutely precious, takes to her immediately. And then without any indication as to why, Abla takes her in, but just for a few days. That turns into an extended period of time, ultimately until she will have the baby. At first, Abla is rigid, and Samia manages to begin breaking down barriers between them with her skill at making the riziza, which wins over Abla and especially her customers. You know, it's wonderful because the revelations that come within the film are saved for us. We have no idea of what is coming. Water essentially helps to melt the ice between Abla and Samia. We see her as smart, learning with the help of her mother and learning from Samia in the bakery as well. But when Samia criticizes the flour that Abla uses and remarks that the women should protest, Abla loses her patience and eventually asks her to leave, but comes to reject her decision, and with water tracks her down, forcing her to return, telling her this baby will not be born in the street, it will be born in a house. Each of their stories is revealed subtly, and that's what I love about this film, and naturally. It all flows naturally. Both Samia and Abla, both locked into their own inner struggles, which have to come out. Samia rejects any attachment to the child at first, growing inside of her, determined to give it up for adoption once it is born and return to her village. He should not suffer for my mistake. With me, he will be doomed, she says. And Abla has been unable to process her husband's death. We learn that she's a widow from water. We get it from Water when Samia plays a cassette by the singer Water Al Jazeera, who Water is named after, tells her that it will make her mother angry since she does not play music since her father died, which provides Samia with a way to break down the wall between her and Abla. She is determined. When she plays the song and Abla gets angry, Samia refuses to relent. I love this scene. And the scene becomes a pivotal moment in the film. When Samia breaks down Abla's defenses, their wrestling turns into a dance. It turns into a dance. And we see Abla relax and let go of her rigidity. She sways with the music, opening her heart and finally reacquainting herself with her own body. That is a beautiful moment in the film, leading to Abla opening up about her sadness over her husband's death and Samia's plight of becoming an unwed mother, and how when relating how her husband died and she could not even bury him, a right where men dictate the grieving process, she remarks that not even death belongs to women. Not even death belongs to women. To which Samia replies, few things belong to us. In a society that is so patriarchal, few things belong to us. I mean, this is a wonderful evocation of the female gaze. I mean, this is really captures the feelings of these women in Morocco. And we continue to watch her realize her femininity, finally looking at her body and eventually applying makeup and becoming radiant. She becomes radiant. We also see the same realization of self with Samia. Early on, when Water wants to listen to the baby, and then later when Samia, alone at night, caresses her belly. It's wonderful how she's getting in touch. She's finally feeling the life inside her. But we also get a glimpse at public reaction at Samia's plight during the film. When she goes to that shop to get the bread baked, she is scorned by the other women when the baker offers her a seat. The baker offers her a seat and she's scorned by the other women. And that is balanced. That the Mariam Tuzani balances it out with the scene when Slimani, I love this character, comes at night and Samia covering for her, and he worries that maybe she's not well and confides that Abla is a fighter. She has courage. I love it. And tries to convince Samia that this lovesick suitor would be good for her. She doesn't want to see him. And I love how she covers for her. When she has the baby, now it is Abla's turn to help Samia, encouraging her to let herself love her son, leading us into an emotional roller coaster. That last part of the film is an emotional roller coaster. And although Abla agrees that after the holiday, she will accompany her to give up the baby, Samia bonds with the boy, yet in a moment of feeling totally lost, tries to smother him, finally snapping out of it. The last scene leaves us in a moment of complete ambiguity. And I love the fact that it does this. I mean, this is the way, as Samia will sneak off in the night, leaving us to wonder what she will do as she looks out on Abla and Water, mother and child huddled together in Abla's bed. The film, and I will tell you, the film intentionally leaves the ending open to interpretation, allowing us to imagine different possibilities for Samia's future. Because, as we know it and as we understand this society, we can feel there's no hope. But I think what Mariam Tuzani is doing is she's inviting a contemplation for us and a discussion, which I hope we will have, about the societal context here, the cultural norms, and the personal choices that may shape her path moving forward. What is this young woman to do? Finding a new life elsewhere, Samia may choose to leave her current environment altogether and seek a fresh start in a different city or a different country if she can leave. This alternative can involve her pursuing better opportunities, escaping societal constraints, or finding a more accepting and supportive community. Or she might reunite with her family. If Samia has had a strained relationship, the ending might suggest the possibility of her reconnecting with them. When she walks in with that child, how could they reject? You got to be inhuman to reject the baby like this. This alternative could involve her to returning to her hometown or reaching out to family members to establish a new dynamic, especially now that she has her baby son. Embracing independence. She might embrace her independence. The ambiguous ending might imply that Samia is determined to chart her own course and rely solely on herself and her own abilities, which we know she has many, to choose to embrace her independence, taking on the challenges of raising her son and building a life for themselves without relying on anyone else. Or she can seek support and community. Another possibility is that she will actively seek out a support network and a community that can provide assistance and understanding. This alternative can involve her connecting with organizations or individuals who can offer guidance, resources, and a sense of belonging as she will navigate her new life. What inspired, now, here comes the kicker. It's very interesting. What inspired Mariam Tuzani to write and direct this film was a similar incident that occurred when she moved back to live with her parents in Tangier after she graduated college. Excuse me. As she explains in interviews, one day a young woman knocked on our door looking for a job. She was heavily pregnant, and behind her smile, she looked tired and distraught. My parents couldn't imagine letting her go in that state, especially since then most unwed mothers ended up giving birth in terrible situations, often on the street, because it was illegal to have a child out of wedlock. She stayed with us until she gave birth, and I went with her to give up her child for adoption a few days later because she believed she had no other choice. The experience moved me deeply. And that is when, and then a little later on, she began writing it when she herself became pregnant. She herself became pregnant after getting married, and she began writing this story. The three main performances in this film are absolutely wonderful. They're enchanting. Originally, Tuzmani wanted a non-professional with real-life experience to play Samia. She was looking for someone who was either early pregnant or had been pregnant out of wedlock, but found it to be too difficult, and she cast an actress. Her name is Nasreen Arati. She was, in fact, featured in a film that we discussed back in 2020. We didn't discuss it here. I discussed it in my Zoom classes, and I highly recommend it. It's a film entitled Catch the Wind. Catch the Wind. It's a French film about a woman who works in a textile factory in France, which closes down and offers her a chance to emigrate to Morocco to work. And she takes her up on it. And Nasreen befriends her in the film. And you could see there how she graduated to this role. She threw herself into this role totally, even gaining weight to portray Samia, because she was a very thin girl in the other film. Now, Lubina Azabal, who plays Abla, I don't know how many of you may have seen her. She's a highly regarded and critically acclaimed actress. She's originally from Belgium. She was born in Belgium, and she's she's portrayed roles all over the world. She's acted here in the States. She acts in France, in Belgium, in the Middle East, in both Israeli and Palestinian film. She won worldwide acclaim for her role in the 2010 Academy Award nominated film. I hope some of you have seen this film, Incendies. Incendies. It is a Canadian film. It was nominated for an Academy Award, and she starred in that film. Played a wonderful role, and she has since starred in films throughout, as I said, throughout Europe, the Middle East, and in the US. She most recently did a wonderful comedic turn in the Israeli hit Tel Aviv on Fire. If any of you have not seen that, it's available on Amazon. It's a wonderful film. It's a comedy. It's both Palestinian and Israeli, and it takes place in Tel Aviv, and she stars in the role. She plays a French actress in the Middle East. It's very funny. And for her role as Abla, she spent a good deal of time experiencing the life of local women in the Medina, even learning how to make Moroccan pastries. She took courses in making Moroccan pastries for the film. Douai Belkaoda, who plays Water, was discovered playing in an alley with two other girls while the director was location scouting. Tuzani felt she had the right mixture of innocence, brightness, and mischief, which she confidently displays in the film. We do see that come through. The cinematography is stunning. The camera as observer in this film, especially in these confined spaces of the apartment where most of the action takes place, and how the film opens up as their relationship grows in the film, with only, as I said, with only that shop window as their only opening to the outside world. It's a wonderful frame. It follows the characters, the cinematography, their faces and their movements, revealing their emotions, as well as how they move around in this central space. It is a dance unto itself that brings them together and sets them apart. changing gradually. If you notice, it all changes gradually as it accompanies their own personal transformations. They grow closer together and apart at points. How it helps toward creating also a sensual atmosphere, especially when Samia instructs Abla on kneading the dough, or when Samia makes the riziza with water. They are, wonderful sensual moments between two women, between a woman and a girl. It's just terrific. The lighting and the camera serve to bear their souls in this film. It is a delicious, beautiful expression of sisterhood. And that's my explanation, and I'm sticking to it. And I hope you enjoyed the film as much as I do watching it each time I see it. And now I would like to open it up for that discussion, whether you want to talk about the ending, the characters, the place, whatever it is. I'm here to hear, as we all should be. So who's going to go first? Who's going to dive in? Or do I have to point one out? Is the little fickle finger of fate going to pick somebody here? I see a hand, Jackie. Thank you.
You knew we'd do it, Shelley.
Absolutely.
We really liked it. And we're both, in a way, still kind of struggling with the turn that it took, because it was, although it was serious, it was almost lighthearted until she had the baby. And then the minute she had the baby, it was literally like 180 degrees out. It showed a tremendous transformation in the film. The pacing slowed down. It got extremely serious. I'm still kind of debating if I liked that or not. I was okay with the ending being ambiguous. I was surprised that a couple people I've talked to before we all got together didn't realize that she tried to smother the baby and then realized what she was doing and stopped. But it was very beautifully filmed. We really did enjoy that. And I've already forgotten his name. I loved the guy that had a crush on her. I absolutely thought.
That's terrific. No, and I love your comment. I love your query about it. I think, and I agree with you. First of all, it does take almost 180-degree turn, because what I think she was doing, what I feel she was doing, is she wanted to build up this warmth between the two of them that would eventually come. But I think having the baby is a slap of reality, and I think that's really what happens. Is she's now thrust in, oh my God, what am I going to do? And that's the decision. Now, one of the things naturally, is Abla could have said, okay, you're going to stay here, we're going to raise the baby together. But it would have been difficult. It would have been difficult because questions would have been asked. Certain things would have to be done to shield the baby and shield Samia. But I think that turn of getting serious is also a slap for us, to realize, hey, yes, it's wonderful what's happening, but now the reality's got to hit home here. We have to understand what this society is all about. Yeah, Jackie.
Well, and in reality, when you think about it, that society is totally different than ours, but that's very similar to actually what happens now, is that people build up that with the showers and everybody being so excited about you being pregnant. And all of a sudden they have the baby, and it's a completely different world to be pregnant or to have the baby. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. Even though they're different societies, it parallels what really happens every day.
Yes. Terrific. Great. Thank you. Good icebreaker. Okay, who's going to dive in now? Linda, Hava? You got to unmute.
I was thinking that if you wanted to sum the movie up just very briefly, just an overview, there are two women here. One is dealing with death, the results of a death, and the other is dealing with life. And also that custom, that community, the woman that has a child becomes pregnant out of wedlock is lower than dirt. And I wasn't sure though if I liked that open ending or not.
I think it's terrific because I think, first of all, we are looking at another world. We're looking at another society. We're looking at a culture which, for the most part, is alien in terms of how they deal with these things. It's totally as I said, a patriarchal society, and women have no rights. So when you say, a woman having a baby out of wedlock would be treated lower than dirt, it's it's a dishonorable thing is the way they look at it, and we know how they deal with dishonorable thing with dishonor. So yes, it's hard to fathom what can happen to her, and I think the reason she leaves it open-ended is because she wants to give the audience, I mean, especially her audience in Morocco, where the film did play, she wants to give her audience the idea of, what do you do? What can we do
I
to
wasn't sure how
ensure?
strong she was, though. That's why I couldn't put a good ending on that. Most of the results that you were talking about, as far as an ending, you would have to have a very strong woman. And to
Yeah,
leave
but
the
I
country,
think
to join an organization, all that takes great strength. I don't know how strong she was.
I think she gained strength during the film. I think she was gaining strength from Abla and feeling, she was capable. I mean, she does the that cooking. She
Right.
was a capable woman when she went in to buy the dough, the wheat, and the bread. I think she really showed, that she does have it. She's very young, and I think, she's really beginning to feel now she's got to make her way. And I think those are the ingredients that we're given, the recipe that she's given now. What will happen? We can't know. We can't know. We can only hope. We can only hope. And that's what she's doing. We can only hope that she might find one of these paths to go. Thank you. Thank you. Marilyn, I saw your hand.
I thought it was a very beautiful movie about female bonding, and unless I'm naive, even though they dealt with very serious issues and ethical issues, I didn't find that there was much prejudice or not. I found it to be non-judgmental, non-prejudice, and in a, I would have maybe had expected in real life to see more attitude towards these, baby pregnant without being married, et cetera, and even if it was Alba, the things like nobody I thought was judgmental about anybody, which is to me, it was beautiful. Unless I missed that, I didn't see that.
Well, we dealt with few characters. I mean, generally in the film. And I think purposely, I think it was through mentioning, the fact that Abla tells the story of she couldn't even plan her husband's funeral. She couldn't go, all of these things. They're not admitted. So it is one-sided in a sense. We're seeing this one side. And, Abla's certainly not going to be judgmental of Samia and vice versa. So we won't have it there. But, we saw certainly how she had to wander the streets because people don't want her near them if she's going to have a baby out of wedlock. They're afraid to be associated with that. So I think, these are the things we have to consider. And I think she doesn't want to be too hard-hitting because she wants her audience to see it in Morocco. So that's important too, is she doesn't want to make it political, so to speak. She wants to make it personal. And that's what she does in the film, is it becomes it's a personal story, which makes it even more interesting as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
So,
Apple could have given some kind of inkling that she, that she was judging her. I never saw that.
no, I don't think. I think first of all, she was busy dealing with herself.
Right.
She also had her own problem, and it's
true.
Samia that brings that out the same way Abla brings out in Samia, to love this child.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Beautiful casting.
Yes. Fran Ross.
I I like your optimistic possibilities for the ending, but I feel sure she took the baby for adoption. I mean, she made it very clear that she had no future. She wanted a marriage. She wanted to go back to her village. And also out of love for the baby, because he had no future if she kept him. And I think she began to bond and felt he was an innocent and shouldn't be deprived of a family and, you know, not be looked down upon because she was an unwed mother. That's my opinion.
Okay, that's fine, and you stick to it.
I can't imagine
it's
her
definitely a
with no,
possibility.
I can't imagine her with no money, no food, no clothing, that she was going to find some organization somewhere, you know, on the streets
Well,
of
we all, the human condition is a mystery. And that's the wonderful thing about these stories, about any story, is the possibilities. And we see possibilities in stories. You never know what could happen. Coincidence, life is random, life is coincidental, and we never know what could happen. There could be a man she runs into that takes her in and sees this child. Who knows? I leave the world open to possibility. I leave stories open to possibilities. That's what writers do, is create worlds, which she does here, and she leaves it open-ended for us to wonder, well, what are the possibilities? Use your imagination. That's what she's asking us. That's what she's asking us. Okay. Dora, and then Susan, I saw your hand. I'll get to you. Dora.
Yes. I really thought that it was very clever, the ending, because it gives you the possibility that she could maybe go, like you said, go some other place. She can make up a story that her husband died and she had this baby. And she was a trained person. She was able to do things like that she helped Abla, and she also at the beginning of the film, she went to a beauty parlor, a beauty place, and she said she could do manicure, she could do. So she's a person who I believe could support herself in some way, like Abla does, because Abla also has, she's supporting herself with this place, that she cooks every day, that she makes these pastries every day, being like a widow. So Samia has also that possibility of, supporting herself with this baby, maybe because it shows that she became attached to the baby once she sang to him this song that was so beautiful. And when she fed the baby, said, drink your mother's milk, and so you saw that she got attached. I don't think she was going to give him away. I think she will find a way to go someplace where nobody knows her and nobody knows that this baby is out of order. Well, maybe I'm positive, I don't know. but the producer, she was amazing, that gave you the possibility that you can think of all these things instead of giving the baby away.
Well, you used your imagination. I mean, that's what I think she wants us to do, is
Right.
to use our imagination, because imagination can lead to things. If we can imagine it, maybe we can make it happen.
Right.
And that's what we hope for.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dora.
it's not the only case that women have a baby or have a child and they make up a story about a husband who went to war and died or something like that. We know from books and other films, I think.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Terrific. Susan Wishnow.
Yes. Was there an underlying kind of romance between the two women too? It's Pride Month, so I thought that. Especially when the sensual scenes, when they were dancing or when they were making the bread, I thought maybe that was a possibility and another way to go.
Well, I don't know about that. I think certainly, as I said, this is a film that meets something that's known as the Bechtel test. There is a playwright, I forget her first name, I think it was Susan Bechtel. She wrote a play called Next to Normal. And it won a Tony Award, and it was about a girl and her relationship with her father, but she also did film. And in the film, what they decided was she created this thing called the Bechtel test. Is the film solely about the female gaze? It's solely about women and how women react to one another, how they behave without any interference from a male. And this film certainly fits that test. And what you're asking is an interesting question. I think what happens is I think that Samia reawakened for Abla her own body, her own feelings. And I think that's what's important, is that I am a woman. I can be sensual. I have, and has those feelings, not necessarily sexually oriented, but just the feeling of who I am and what I can be. And I think that was important. I think that it expresses it beautifully in the film, that this is a sisterhood. These are women who realize each other, and there's no shame in it. There's no shame in it. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty. So it's a good question. And thank you. Thank you for bringing it up. Arlette, yes, I see your hand. Go ahead. You got to unmute all that.
Good question.
It's trying to make me feel good.
Okay.
There you
Everything's
go.
pretty close down here.
Okay.
What I found, what I
Yeah.
found, the sensuality between the two women is something that we women, as womanhood, have and we possess. And it's absolutely strong, motivating, and a connection that women have, which I thought was portrayed beautifully in the different parts of making the bread. Also the dancing and the music, I thought was a beautiful element of bringing out some reactions of even the child, not only her mother, okay, and also the love that the child had for this pregnant
Yeah.
woman. I felt that the fact that she had this great relationship with little girl, she would eventually have the love for the child that she wanted to ignore that she was carrying, which did prove towards the end of the film how that came about. That little girl taught her that there is something in there, which I thought was magical. Plus, I thought it was very funny that the neighbor comes down. She wants to see her soap opera and she needs the remote right
Yes.
now, right now. I have no time, and I don't recall, did the neighbor ask about the pregnant woman? Someone asked about her, and I remember the response was, oh, she's my cousin. Well, isn't your cousin old? I don't remember what part of the movie that was. Like, how could you be pregnant if you have old cousins?
Right.
I don't recall if it was that woman getting the
was
remote or somebody
was
else
the
that asked
neighbor.
that question.
Yeah, it was the neighbor. It was the neighbor.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Thank you all. Yes, I agree with you. Bonnie, I see your message. Bonnie Long felt she was more worried about the life of the child would have if she kept him rather than her life. She talked about the life of the child would have as a bastard child. Well, yes, I mean, she talked about it, but I think in the end, I think she was as ambiguous as the ending. I think that she herself was not sure what path to take. And she's going out into that long night to find herself with the child. I think that's what we're left with, is to wonder, and that's the beauty of the ending is, no, you don't get closure in this situation. Not every film is going to give you closure, especially stories like this. They should be open-ended. And that's what I like about it. Thank you, Arlette. Marilyn, you coming back again?
Yeah. Okay, so even with closure, another relationship that that made me think of this was that the bonding between the females, and I think that Samia helped Alba come to terms with her fears, and knowing that, I think maybe she was supposed to be perceptive enough to know that Alba would not be able to move forward until she was able to face her fears. And I think that came out listening to the music and the fear dealing with her husband's death that was stopping her from moving forward. And as a result of that episode, maybe then she would be able to move on with her life and maybe even have some kind of relationship with Somali. Is that the way you pronounce his name? Because that was sort of being in the background and she wouldn't have no part of it because she was so frozen in her fears that she wasn't possible to do that. So
Yes.
maybe the bonding, Samia helped her get through that part of her life.
I think so. I think what she did is she reawakened her. I think she was, she became frozen. And I think she thought her out, so to speak.
Yeah.
And definitely, I think, the introduction of the guy was not just humorous, it was also serious in a way. I mean, he really liked Abla, and he liked Samia, the daughter, Water. And he saw himself, but it shows another side. Again, it shows that side of society, of this particular culture, where she has a child, she's a widow, I don't care, I'm in love, and I think he would pursue it given the chance. So it shows that ability to be different in a society that looks upon these differences, that scorns these differences. So that's an interesting way to look at it. Terrific. Nora.
Hello. I really liked the film. It was very much, it was like very good to watch. You felt like you were in their lives. One of the things I thought we didn't talk about was the part where Samir was on the street sitting and she saw teenage girls walking by having a good time. And you knew as soon as she looked at them that was her life. That was her previous life, that she was one of those girls before she became pregnant. And
That's a great comment. Thank you for bringing it up. Yes, absolutely. This is where she should be. It's almost as she's thinking, this is where I should be. And what's, stopped her. So in essence, that's gone. And being, fortunately having someone take her in, and with a child, being able to bond in that way is a transition. She's got to transition from what she was to what she's going to become. And I think that's part of what's happening here, is she can't go back to that life. She knows that,
Well, she wants to, right? She wants to go back to her village, to her parents. She said
she wants family. Yeah, she wants to go back to her family. They both had these personal issues, and the pregnancy, I think, brought them together. Sandra Fuss, who's in the audience, said this nicely, that she loved the way the director slowly and beautifully and carefully developed the relationship between these two women who both had personal issues. The pregnancy brought them together, and at the end of the pregnancy had to bring it all to some resolution, or a lack of resolution. The resolution is in our hands, interestingly enough. Susan Mann, You had something interesting. I see you've been PS and both were pregnant. In a way, yes, in a way. Thank you. Okay, who else? Anybody else out there have
No,
something they'd like to
I
add?
meant, Shelley, I meant it was a PS to the message I put before, which was, remember the film where the Ethiopian immigrant came off the boat onto the Greek island? I forget the name of it. And somebody took her in, not wanting to,
Yeah,
you know,
terra
and
firma, yeah.
yeah, terra firma, right. And she was pregnant. And I think the pregnant part adds a lot to,
You know,
and and the culture, both Morocco and Greece are very warm and welcoming.
well, it was in Italy, but it's interesting you bring up the film because she came from a
Was it Italy?
culture also that would look with disdain on a woman having a baby out of wedlock. We have to remember in that film, she had been away from her husband for 5 years, and the son tried to kill the child because it wasn't his father's child. And he said, my father will reject us if he sees you with the baby. So, you know, there was an ending. That was not an ending either. She was willing to go, though, to mainland to find her husband, regardless, because she felt if he's the same man he was 5 years ago, he'll take us in. So there is, you know, these feelings of hope. And that's what happens here as well. That's what happens here as well. You know, we have to hope for her and that she will find a place in the world with the baby if she wants to. If not, she will give it up. She will give it up. Anybody else? Anybody
Barbara,
else out there?
Shelley, Barbara, did you have your hand up? You're muted.
There you
I
go.
think that any ending that indicated that things were going to go well for her would have been a phony ending. It would have just not rung true, just to wrap it up like that. And those cultures are so, I mean, patriarchal is just barely scratches the surface of what they are. And you got the feeling that this pregnancy, it was not an act of violence or rape, but a mistake that the young woman made. She mentions that she had made a mistake.
Yes.
A child like that would not be able to go to school. They wouldn't have a birth certificate. You know, even in the United States, you know, people used to just go away and visit an aunt for 6 or 7 months and, you know, come back without a child. And I think that in, you know, Europe and the United States, they are far more forgiving than in a country where women just have no rights at all.
To a certain extent, I wouldn't go 100% on that, even in this country.
Well, in a so few rights, so few.
Yes. Well, I first of all, I agree with you that to put an ending on it wouldn't create the conversation that the ambiguous ending has created. And I like all your comments because they're all possibilities. But I think by putting an ending on it, if you did put an ending on it, you would say, "Oh, come on, you know,
Yeah.
how could she do that?" or whatever, and it leaves a closure where you won't even discuss the possibilities. You won't even discuss the possibilities. So I agree
It would
with
be
you.
too neat.
Yes, it would be too neat. You shouldn't be neat. Thank you. Clara.
Yes, I wanted to say more or less what Barbara said. I think that in that culture, it's very difficult because she wouldn't have the support of the family or whoever in the village where she was from. So she's saying since the beginning that she had made up her mind what she was going to do with the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yes.
there is no other way that she can do anything else. Well, that's what I think. So that would be the end for me.
Uh-huh.
with a lot of sorrow because I wanted her to keep the baby.
Good, good. That's what I mean. That's why the ending is wonderful the way it is. Is in your mind, she can keep that baby.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you. Thank you. I saw another hand somewhere. Yes, Mel.
I just want to point out about 40 or 50 years ago, the medical trend was not to allow the mother to see the unwed or the unwed mother to see the baby, because we knew once they see it, many times they get attached and they will not put the baby up for adoption. And it's the same way in homes. We used to take children with Down syndrome and we used to put them in a home. Now we discourage that. We ask the people to take them home to their home to take care of them. And the same way with unwed mothers. The trend is now going to the other end.
Yeah, I mean, look, we want to, if anything, in this society, we want to give the mother the ability to raise the child. Now, there was the film, In Safe Hands, where a mother gives up the baby. In France, the law is, an unwed mother could walk into any hospital. She doesn't have to, when she's ready to deliver, she could walk into any hospital and they will deliver the baby and they will give her the option. If you want to keep the baby, there are organizations which we steer you to, which can help you raise the child. And if you want to give the child up, we can arrange that as well. And that's, in France, that's a society. Now we have to remember something, that Morocco, at one point was colonized by France. And, now they're on their own. And so their dictates are a lot different. It's interesting how, one culture can impact on another or withdraw and leave that country on their own. And unfortunately, not necessarily evolve in the way we would hope. And that's what happened here. That's what happens here. So anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Well, I think that the ending certainly did what I expected it to do, and I'm happy about that. And now that brings me to, where are we next month? Okay, in August, I'm sorry, July. I'm rushing ahead. I'm not even here in August. Yes, I'm not even here in August. In July, on July 13th, in 2 weeks, we have Summer Hours. Summer Hours, how appropriate. It is from France. It is from 2008. It was universally, when it came out, and I've seen it many times, universally acclaimed by critics. It's a multiple award-winning film and a very contemporary story of 3 siblings in Paris who must decide what to do with the country estate and the objects they've inherited from their mother. It is about the coming to terms with globalized modern living. And when I say that, is these 3 siblings live in 3 different parts of the world, and they've come together in Paris. It's a film that's done in 2 acts, as you'll see. It's very naturalistic. It's very unsentimental, very honest approach to the film. Summer Hours it's rare in that it pays respect to the family by treating it with honesty. By treating it, we deal with actually 3 generations in this film. It owes, I think, a lineage to Chekhov in many ways. It's just, I think, a wonderful story that's beautifully acted. It stars Juliette Binoche and some very, very popular French actors who I'll get into more when you see the film. After you see the film, and I look forward to discussing this film. It is a film about art as well, about the value of art, how we treat art, and the role art plays within a family itself. So I look forward to that discussion on July 13th. So I wish you a happy 4th of July.
What channel is it on? What,
Oh, that's a
Canopy.
good question. What channel is it on? Let me,
Probably
let me
Canopy.
yes, it's definitely on
Is it on
Canopy. That I can
Amazon?
say.
I don't get Canopy, but is it
Yes,
on?
I think it is on Amazon. I will tell you in a moment. Let me pull up my little machine here to tell me where it's playing. Come on, come on. Doesn't want to cooperate. It's coming. It's coming.
Just watch.
Don't worry, Frank. Don't worry. Here it
Nervous
goes.
about this.
I will have your information momentarily. Come on. Got a slow computer tonight. Okay, here we go. Okay, it is playing on, you can access it. Yes, on Canopy, if you have Tubi and you don't mind commercials, you got the Criterion channel. It's available on Amazon. If you have DirecTV or AMC, you could see it there as well. So you have a number of options. And remember, as I always tell you, there is an app which you can see on your computer or you can download to your phone called justwatch.com.
Yeah.
Justwatch.com, and it will tell you where these movies are playing.
Oh,
Right. Yeah. Well, Shelley, thank you again for another wonderful evening.
Oh, my pleasure. And
You
I
bet.
wish you all a happy 4th of July, as I said.
You too. You and your family, a happy 4th of
Thank you,
July,
Olive.
and
Yeah.
everybody. Have fun.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
night,
See you in a
everyone.
couple of weeks.
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Good night.
Good night, everybody.